Welcome, everybody. Thanks for setting aside some time with us today. We really appreciate it. We have some exciting new UI enhancements to cover, and we will get right into it. But before we do so, let's go ahead and get some housekeeping done out of the way. Let me first start by reading our forward looking statement. This presentation will contain information regarding areas of the Cirrus Insight platform that are unreleased and still under development. The product demonstrations, illustrations, and prototypes shown in today's presentation may look different, be referred to under different names, and may function differently once released. We encourage you to make any and all buying decisions based on the features and functionality that are currently available. Thank you for giving me a minute to read that. All right, next, I want to let everybody know that this session is being recorded. We will get the recording as per usual out within about 24 hours or so. An email will go out to everyone that's registered, and you can feel free to share that recording with whomever you would like. Finally, if you've been to our webinars before, you know we love interaction. I love answering questions. It just makes this entire process much more meaningful for you all as participants. So please go ahead and use that Q&A pod and ask as many questions as you can think of. We have a panel of folks here behind the scenes that are more than happy to try to answer those questions. I'll try to answer some live as well as we'll answer some behind the scenes. So thank you for that. All right. So what is changing? Well, if you are on this webinar, you probably already received an email from us that sort of highlighted some of the changes. There are two different things that we are going to talk about today. The first we're going to talk about, well, actually, we're going to talk about the reverse order here, but the first thing that's on the screen here is the record editing UI, right? Where we have gone ahead and made it much, much easier to read, give you a better overall experience. There's less scrolling involved, and we fixed a couple of things to make it a little bit easier for you to get information into the system. The second thing that we're going to talk about is our buyer signal analytics overhaul. And this is a complete redesign, you all. I mean, it is going to blow your mind. It is fantastic. We are super excited about this. We've gotten a lot of feedback from you over the years around just how our buyer signal analytics currently works, as well as how you would like to see it work in the future. And so those are the two main things that we are going to cover today. If there's anything else that you want to talk about, if we have some time at the end, by all means, feel free to ask those questions. And, I'm an open book. I'll try to answer as much as I can to the best of my ability. All right. So with that said, I think that's time to jump into the demo. Give me 1 second to get my setup set up here and we'll get started. Go ahead and jump out of this presentation and believe if I do this, you all should see my screen. Can I get a thumbs up from or a yes?
Yep.
Ryan?
All good.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. Let me just do one other thing. Okay. So the first thing I want to just do for you all is mention that I'm going to show you the way this is going to work is I'm going to show you kind of the way things look now. Of course, you all already know that because you're using the product, but I think it's good to see the now, and then I'll show you what the enhanced version is going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and click on an email here. And when I click on an email, you'll see the sidebar looks, again, the way it should look for you all today. If you have access to buyer signals, you'll see those little red bubbles. And if I hover over those little red bubbles, you'll see the fact that we track opens and link clicks and things of that nature. So this is the way the current UI looks. So if I want to find out about the buyer signals for this particular email, I have to go down to the contact level, click on the contact. Once I click on the contact, from there, I can see the engagement that this person has had. And right here, I can see that on 10/25, someone opened it. Now, I'm assuming it was Jane that opened it, right? Because it's under her name. But as we all know, sometimes buyer signals in all systems can be a little sneaky. But I can tell with pretty distinct confidence that someone did click on this link right here. And so I can actually see that from this email, Jane said she clicked on that link because she booked time on my calendar. So this is what the buyer signals UI looks like today. I can kind of scroll back this way or that way and look at the charts, and I would see just the engagement listed down here. Let me come back to Jane directly and look at the related lists that I have access to in this demo environment. So typically, let's say you would want to view some more details about Jane and or you wanted to edit some of the information that you knew about Jane. What you would do is you would use this view edit button that's listed right here, right? I click that view edit button, and what I would get is this UI where I have to basically scroll all the way through. And this UI is not bad, right? I'm bashing the folks that came before me and built this UI, but this UI does have a lot of white space, right? Like dead space. We could utilize that space a little bit better. And so what I'm going to show you today is how we've gone ahead and done that. There are a couple of things that were also a little clunky, like search, for example. Like if I wanted to change this university, right? Sorry, university, if I wanted to search, right, I could, basically kind of see what this was here. It makes that a little bit harder if I was picking, I don't know, a date. This date picker is a little, jumps around on you, as you can see, makes it hard when you're trying to scroll through, that kind of stuff. So there's just, again, enhancements, right, that we could do. We can make things better. So that's the way things look today. Give me 1 second here, and I am going to show you what this looks like in the new world. Oh, and I'm going to see if I can use a little, new feature where you can see my little head down here at the bottom. Do you like that? That's something new. I haven't tried that out yet. But anyway, that's something different. Let's go back to this experience. So right off the bat, you're going to notice that we are sort of creating a email based engagement or buyer signals grouping. Right off the bat, you could see that the sidebar is telling you, hey, this is the email that we are talking about in the sidebar. One of the big pieces of feedback that we often got from folks is that sometimes it was hard to tell which email we were dealing with. Now, I'm not utilizing thread or conversation view here in my Gmail, but sometimes it would be difficult to kind of tell which one I was working on or I'm working with. And also, when I'm looking at particular contacts, if I had maybe on one email of the thread there were 5 people and on another there were 3, right? Sometimes that would get sort of confusing. So immediately I can kind of see, hey, I'm talking about this specific email, the email that was sent on Wednesday, October 25th at 4:27. And so I can still see the same stuff I saw before, right? I see my buyer signals that you kind of saw before that you were kind of obscured behind the contact record here are now right front and center. You'll also notice that in this same exact email, right, we have some additional buyer signals. So when I said we've enhanced our buyer signals, not just the UI, but actually what we are doing and how we are doing it. So how we're collecting that information and how we're displaying it to you. We're always looking to get better at that, right? I mean, it's never going to be 100% perfect. You're always going to get false positives or false negatives. just due to the nature of the way tracking works. But we feel like we have made a giant stride forward in this new release. So let me kind of show you a little bit more here. In addition, you'll notice that there's two sort of sections. There's a contact section and there's an engagement section. So if I want to see what the engagement was on this particular email, I can just click that little section header and look at this. I can see all of the engagement, the stream of data that has been coming in around this particular email. And we're also giving you a little bit more information than we were before. So you might see that not only are we tracking opens here and the clicks, but we're also telling you when and when specifically in terms of the timing, as well as where we think that click came from. So why is this important? I'm going to click on a different email just to give you an example that I set up earlier today. Let me open this up. So here is an email, right? So again, this is an email that uh, I sent to Quinn and then she replied, right? And Quinn here, the scenario is Quinn called me on the phone and she's telling me her organization was going through some awesome growth and she needed to add a couple more users. And she went ahead and wanted to know how can we do this the most efficient way. And so I said, hey, by all means, you can use this quick start guide. You can also have people reach out to support directly, whatever, reach out to me, whatever we need to do to make sure that your folks get up to speed. We'll do whatever we need to do. And so I sent her that email and tracking was on. And so I'm tracking not only the email, but I'm also tracking those links. So when I click on this engagement, right, I want you to notice that there are engagements with this email from all over, right? So maybe the people who were onboarded, right? Maybe there were two different people, and I'm just giving you an example here, right? One of the new people was in Los Angeles, and one of the people was in Denver, right? And so you can now really start to get a picture for what's happening. How are people utilizing the information that you are sending them? Not just, hey, did somebody click on a link? Not just, hey, did somebody, open the email? But what did that look like? Maybe they forwarded the email to somebody. And so you can kind of see that direct engagement right there. So again, a lot more to come. We have a lot more information around buyer signals and that redesign that's going to be coming in later this fall. But just wanted to kind of give you a little sneak peek at what the differences are going to be for buyer signals. I want to move on to the next side of it, which is the UI changes. Now, when the sidebar engages and I go ahead and I edit Quinn, you'll see that new UI shows up. And again, right, if you remember, right, this same information, right, that you're getting here in terms of the ability to edit this information or view this information in the previous UI or the current UI for you all, you would have to scroll to see all of this information. But now it fits all on that one screen. I don't have to scroll. I mean, that just in and of itself, right, is going to save you, a couple of minutes a day just trying to find stuff from a recognition perspective. So it makes it super, super simple. I'm going to come back out of here. I'm going to go to this email. So what I want to show you here is creating a new contact in this is my demo system, right? This is what happens. It's going to look slightly different for you all, like what fields are going to show up and what's required and what's not. But I did want to show you a couple of the new features. So we make it really clear by highlighting any of the required information. Anything that's required not only has an asterisk, but it also, will get highlighted here. So I'm going to put in here Mindler, right? And then remember before when we were searching for a company and it was a little bit difficult, check this out, right? Now, not only do we make the search a little bit easier, but if as I start to type, we do a a preview lookup, right? So as you can see here, as I keep typing, I will start to see, that information. And what you see in this box is 100% controlled by you all utilizing your compact layouts. So whatever the default compact layout is for this record, right, that you're searching for, that's what will show up here. So if you had name and account number or owner or whatever, right, whatever showed up there for you, right, you would see that information, which makes this so much easier to use than the previous way we had it. In addition, probably my favorite, the date picker, right? It no longer jumps around. Everything is so super simple. I can just sort of click through and get to a date that I need. And then in addition, right, as always, I still have the ability to file this email, to this contact when I'm ready to go ahead and do so. So again, this UI really makes a big difference in terms of how you're going to interact with it. I think everyone is going to love it once they get used to it. People sometimes don't like change, but I think this change, once people really start to get their hands on it, they're going to be like, how did I live without this for so long? And by the way, I'm gonna do one better, and I'm going to give you a one more thing here. If you didn't know about this, if you were an admin, you have access to this. If your admin allows, some don't for various and very good reasons. But if you are an admin, you have access to this feature, this little sprocket icon. And what that little sprocket icon does, if you didn't know, it allows you to hide and or show all of the fields that are on this particular layout. So maybe in Salesforce, right, I might need all of these fields to show up, but in the sidebar, I don't need all of them to show up. I only need the main ones. Well, you as the admin have the ability to toggle which ones of these are showing up. Maybe we want to go ahead and we want to show, mailing address, city, state, postal code, and country. When I save that layout as the admin, right now that information shows up. But if there are things that don't need to be there, right? So let's say we don't need that information. I can go ahead as the admin, I can come in here and I can make that change. Now, one step further, just like a lot of our features, depending on the situation, an admin may allow a user to edit their own layout. And so if they do, as a user, I'd be able to come in here and toggle on or off the fields that were important for me as well. And when you make those changes, those are persistent until you change them again. So keep that in mind. Those are going to be persistent across the board. But that is another feature that we see people love about Cirrus Insight, and the ability to really customize what is viewable in that sidebar to make it absolutely, spot on what is required for me to do the work I need to do without getting distracted and or having to go through a bunch of, fluff that I don't need to see. So just a little bonus tip for you all. If you didn't know that was there, that is in fact a feature. All right. So I think I covered most everything here. Discard changes here. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a moment. And I'm going to see if there are any questions that people have. By all means, feel free to, jump in and ask as many questions as you would like. We'll go ahead and try to answer them best way possible here. Let me see. When will this be live? All right, great question. So just really quickly, I'm going to answer the question about when this is going to be live in a minute. We do have a knowledge base article that does review all of this. So if you're not 100% sure you retained everything that we just talked about, maybe you were multitasking or you just want to hear it again. Sometimes I need to hear things a few times or see things a few times before the value of them really sinks in. You can actually you can look at all of this information in the knowledge base article. Obviously, as I mentioned before, we will also be sending out the recording, but there is a knowledge base article. Ryan is going to go ahead and drop it into the chat, the link to that knowledge base article. So that way you all have it. And of course, we'll also put a link to it in the email when we send the recording. Let's move on to the next slide because this is what you were looking for, right? So when it comes to the UI specifically, we're separating them out just to make things not to bring too much change to too many people all at once. So we're separating out buyer signals and the UI changes on the form for when you're editing a record. Uh, we're rolling out the record editing UI changes first, and this is what that schedule looks like. So starting on November 1st, organizations that have up to 100 users will have that feature enabled. On November 15th, if your org has between 100 and 500 and users, it'll be enabled. And then finally, all other orgs will be enabled on the 29th of November. Now, this is users purchased, number of purchased seats, right, that you have from us. So, maybe you purchased 110 seats, but you are only utilizing 75 of them at the moment, right? You would still fall into that second group because you purchased between 100 and 100. So that is the schedule. We will go ahead and put this schedule and keep it updated in that knowledge base article as well. So that way, if you have questions, you can go ahead and take a look at that as well. All right. Hopefully that answers that question. I'm gonna give a shameless little plug here. If you didn't know or hadn't heard, we are building our next new great thing called Smart Scheduler coming out in November. This is a brand new feature that is a companion product to our current calendar scheduling tools. This allows for things like round robining. It allows for you to create a form to filter and get people routed to the right individuals when you're trying to get meetings scheduled. Lots and lots of possibilities with this tool. There is Brian went ahead and dropped the URL to that page as well, where we talk more about it. And that one we are actually offering beta participants. So, or we're taking beta participants. So if you're interested in being a beta tester of that feature, by all means, fill out the form on that particular page, and we will have somebody from the product team reach back out to you. All right. And I think with that, we just have questions to cover. I'll stay on for just a few minutes longer, just in case people are typing or you wanted to wait to the end to ask questions. But for those of you who don't have any more questions, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it. If you have any specific questions, feel free to email me directly. Feel free to go through our support channel, whether that be chat or sending an email. Reach out to us in any way, shape, or form. We are here to help and provide as much assistance as we possibly can. Thank you for spending time with us, and I bid you adieu. Anybody else that has questions, feel free to stay on and ask. And otherwise, thanks again. All right. Doesn't appear that there are any other questions coming in. So I am going to say thank you once again. Appreciate your time. And I don't know, just thanks again. I really appreciate it. I love these webinars. You guys are awesome. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great one. Bye bye.